Ladies and gentlemen, Mika Jussila. Mika, how are you?
Well, I'm fine, thanks, and I'm glad you have me here.
Well, Mika, Finnvox is celebrating 60 years, and you are celebrating 41 years as a mastering engineer. Tell me a little bit about your beginnings, because you started out forming a band, and then you started in Finnvox in 1984, didn't you?
October '84. Yeah, forming a band that was not well. At that time when you are a youngster, you met friends at school, and you have the same interests about the music. And schools in Finland, for example, they can offer you quite fine places where you can hang around with your friends and just grab an instrument and start playing. So whatever, I had some couple of school bands, of course, mostly cover bands, playing some Rolling Stones, Neil Young kind of stuff, and so on. But I was at the same time a bit interested also working in the studio after school and military here in Finland. I was working like a summer job or contemporary job at a company called Agfa or Aquagever, with a German company made that time professional film, but
Yeah.
also professional studio tapes,
Mhm.
both multi-track 2-inch tapes and master tapes and so on and so on. Well, I was driving a car around Helsinki area and visiting every studios and taking them these master tape packages, and every time in every studio I just asked that is there anything for me that I would love to work here, and so on and so on. At that time there was no possibility to study engineering or audio engineering in Finland, so it was just like learning by doing kind of thing. I think I visited here back at Finnvox door about
Hmm.
2 3 months, maybe
Oh,
2 months,
great.
once a week, knocking the door, anything for me. Same time when I leave the tapes inside, and I've always told the story that maybe they just get bored to me. So we can't get rid of that guy if we don't give something. And they promised me a job, and they put me straight to the mastering studio, which was that time cutting vinyl. So that's how everything started, and I was definitely really really lucky because if they have announced this job for public, so there have been hundreds and hundreds of meters people before me, more,
Yeah.
more qualified than me, but that's how it went, and I was lucky, right place, right time, and so everything started.
Sometimes everything evolves naturally. It flows.
Yeah, yeah. At least that in this case, it just everything just happened, and I was really lucky also in the way that it was a mastering studio and not any other studio, because I have noticed years later that definitely this mastering post is one for me. Not so much. I'm not so interested in recording or mixing, but that was really a lucky strike. Yeah.
Okay. Mika, just to clarify to the people, what's the main difference between mastering and mixing? Mastering is like putting the ice on the cake, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's I've always said it's like polishing or doing makeup. That's a quite good impression about that. But I think mostly people know when they buy records or they listen music, whatever. Nowadays it's happening, so they know that something has been done before the music piece is listenable. So even the most of the public knows that it has to be recorded, and they also know about mixing, that okay, that's something that we put the instruments in the right balance, but hardly people know what's mastering, and so that is the final stage where we can still give an input to an album or just a single song by polishing or doing makeup. You can wash your car and you can say that okay, that's fine looking car now, but when I do the polishing, it starts shining. And the same with the most beautiful women in world. They are really really beautiful, but when I do the makeup, I can make them shine. So that's what happens in mastering overall. Of course, it's a technical thing too, that where we do EQing and work with dynamics, and then we do lots of editing, and we prepare all the mastery files for different formats, for vinyl, for CD, for digital platforms. So there are several stages.
Okay, nice. Well, one of the bands that you have worked with is Nightwish. And I recently saw a photo of you with a commemorative plaque of Yesterwine for the more than 10,000 sales.
10,000 copies, yeah,
Yeah,
10,000 copies in Finland,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, for sure. And I know you usually work closely with Tuomas Holopainen,
Yes,
Mikko
Karmila.
Karmila, and
Yes.
Tero Kinnunen. So, what would you highlight about that working dynamic? And apart from that, what makes Nightwish so special?
That's a long question, I should say. But in a way, first of all, I remember it was late June back in 1987, the day when they came first time to Finnvox doing mastering for the first album. At that point, it wasn't even the album yet. It was just the second demo of the band, but which became an album called Angels Fall First. But
Yeah.
we did a mastering the whole day session at Finnvox, and after Finnvox, they went to the Spine Farm office to sign a contract for a record deal. And we did the first version of Angel Falls First, which was 500 copies, numbered copies, and the actual album was made in the same autumn when we add more tracks to this second demo kind of thing, and that's the more known piece of that album. Anyway, that was the first time. Guys were really shy. No one talked anything. They all look like schoolboys, and I remember very well the session. But the thing is that's something that I had remember every time after that session also, is that don't judge the book by its covers, because I treat them well. I was nice, polite, and I was serving them like I do always. I have mastered over 6,200 albums, and I have never done mastering for myself. It's always for my client. So even though they were shy guys talking nothing, I was at their service. So it was my duty to make them feeling well and feeling happy when they are leaving Finnvox, and that happened. So that's the way to work, that they will come back.
Mhm.
And that happened, as you know. So we have worked together since the first album. But that was, of course, the first impression. And the band developed quite fast, actually. Mikko Karmila came in to the second album, Oceanborn, doing recording and mixing. And the whole style of the band changes radically. That's what we know. But the next, definitely the big step was with album Once.
Yeah.
Even Century Child was already some kind of it showed a little bit what is coming, but Once was, it just blow the bank. We know that, and that was a huge step. Then I noticed that okay, now something really big is happening. All the media hassle after that, even that, I think that was probably around the first times that even the foreign media started to be really interested of mastering and my work, what I have done with Nightwish albums. So even I got to do lots of interviews and so on and so on. I noticed that okay, this is something spectacular. This has not happened in Finland before. But after Once, I think the development of the band was quite naturally. The following album was a little bit bigger, and the following album was just a little bit bigger again. And then we come to Endless Force, Most Beautiful, which is probably the biggest album. Then they took a little bit back to Human Nature and Yesterwind again. the biggest of them all.
Yeah, yeah.
And so much memories, so many memories with the bands and these guys. And the main thing what Tuomas has always been telling is that the inner circle, so-called, the production team, like you mentioned, so himself, Tero Kinnunen, Mikko Karmila, and me. So as long as Nightwish is doing albums, he won't change this group, this inner circle. And I'm so proud and honored to be the trusted man with Nightwish. That means so much to me.
Great, awesome. And regarding that memories, you recently mentioned Riku Konen from Spine Farm. Today I sent a message to him that I will talk with you. And well, you work closely with Riku during the 90s and the 2000s because you mastered albums by Nightwish, Children of Bodom, and Sonata Arctica. And I
Yeah,
should
actually, almost all the albums Spine Farm ever released. So I did mastering
Yeah,
for almost all of them.
yeah, and I should also mention Sentences and Amorphis
Oh
as
yeah,
the
exactly.
pioneers. So again, what memories do you have of that era when Finnish metal became world famous?
First of all, I didn't recognize that at that time. We didn't think about that. Now we are doing, especially Finnish metal, which is becoming really popular or so on. We just make good music, and also we have to remember that as a mastering engineer, I have always done all kind of music, all
Yeah,
genres, from folk music to classical and world music to children's music, jazz, whatever. Of course, a lot of rock and a lot of metal nowadays. But at that time, I think the Stratovarius was probably the first one that really hit hard on me when I thinking about mastering metal. I did Destiny album. My colleague Pauli did Visions, but I had done already episode. Maybe I can't even remember what the first albums were. But when Stratovarius hit really big in Europe, so my name and Finnvox name, and of course Mikko Karmila name, started spread all over the Europe, and people start sending us emails and other messages that where we can have the sound like Stratovarius, and we were just wondering, well, come here. And so it started my international career. At that was because of Stratovarius, but also of course with Sentenced, for example, Valtari was also one of the first
yeah,
ones. I didn't work so much with Amorphis at that time. Couple of albums I have mastered, but I think it was Eclipse album was the first really big one with Amorphis, and I did what I call Tommy Oldsen trilogy, which is Eclipse and Silent Borders and Skyforger. Those was the most remarkable masterings with Amorphis for me. But the thing was that when I did the Stratovarius, people asked me that when you have done Stratovarius albums so good sounding, so could you master our album too, and so on and so on. And the more I did metal mastering, the more I got it for me to do, and some kind of snowball reaction, you know.
Mhm.
So it started rolling and rolling, and I was like mentioned that he's the metal guy and doing all the remarkable metal album masterings, and I was, yeah, that is true, but I also do all kind of music. Remember,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
but
Mm.
but that was fine because I was and I'm still am good when mastering metal. I know that I'm good and I'm fast, and especially in Finland, when you do something fast, it means that you save money, and every time you save money, you're our guy. So because
Yeah.
there's no money involved at all. So I have used the impression that I have positive routine doing metal mastering. If you do something with routine, it somehow got the negative vibe because people think that you are not concentrating, you do it just one hand and blah blah, just you don't care. But that's why I use the phrase positive routine, because I know that I'm good, and I know immediately when I start listening music and the first bars of the metal song, I already know what to be done in mastering. So I need to fix that low end, I need to fix that vocal sound, and so on and so on. So that's what I meant when I said that I work fast. I make all the decisions quite fast, and I can move forward quite fast, still losing the quality. Well. Anyway, that's the point where you do a lot of one genre. You really get into it. I'm not so much metal guy in my free time. I don't listen so much metal at home. I got it enough when I'm working at Finnvox. But still, I love that genre because it's in its best, it's complicated, it's progressive, it challenges also me as a mastering engineer. So I really enjoy working with metal bands.
Okay, okay, and you mentioned that well, sometimes you need to rest. Well, you're a photographer, and which other activities would you like to do in order to relax and well get a rest to your ears?
Well, I don't listen so much music after working day. That's for sure one thing. I enjoy just, hanging at home, lying on a couch, checking movies from Netflix or things like that. And I'm a really family oriented guy. I love to hang with my family. I have grown up children already, but I have also grandchildren. So family is really, really important for me. Photographing is one of the things that I really enjoy. And that's one thing that when you work with the bands and artists in the studio daytime, and then they have a gig in evening in a club or whatever venue, and you just go on and grab your camera with you and ask that, is it okay if I come to check the show and take some photos at the same? First it was, yeah, it's okay. And maybe a bit later they asked, can you come? So nowadays it's quite easy to hang around with these guys, and they let me go to the places where other photographers can't go during the gig, and even on the stage, backstage, of course, and that's really, really nice. And I think when I do photographing, I am quite relaxed because that's not my main job. So I don't need to think all the time that I get paid, or if I now do this, should I get a salary, or how much should I charge for this photo? Or so I just photo shoot.
Yeah,
Sometimes I get paid because they are using my photos on the books, on our album covers, magazines, newspapers, wherever on social media. So sometimes I get paid, sometimes not. But that's not the case because I got my living from Finnvox Studios. So
yeah, got it. You don't have your own pressure.
yeah, that's I don't need to take any pressures of shooting. Sometimes it has even happened that my friends have asked that, can you come to photo shoot the show? I thought, yes, that's fine. And after the show, they are really, really anxious that, did you get good photos? I don't know. No, my camera broken, or I thought, suddenly I deleted everything or what. Then I was just, well, oh, sorry. And we move on.
Okay, okay, Mika. Well, three more questions. Just in general, what about your gear? You usually work with Genelec monitors,
Yeah.
Prism Sound Macelec, Focusrite MK Blue. What else?
Genelec, of course, because it's a Finnish company, and we
Finish.
have
Yeah.
done a lot of collaboration, even from the mid 80s, I think. Yes, so we have a really close relationship with Genelec, and also my Signal Road
Yeah.
is almost totally analog, both like modern equipment and also some vintage stuff. And mostly I do all the sound with the analog stuff. Couple of EQs, couple of compressor limiters, and stereo processors. But of course, nowadays you work with the plugins too. That's not any secret. But maybe shortly to say, it's the way that I don't work so-called in the box. So that's also something that I have to remind my clients all the time when I have started the mastering, for example, an album, and I'm moving on quite fast, and then suddenly in the middle of the mastering, my client said, "Hey, we did a new mix of that and that song, or all the songs, or whatever. So just use the same setup and do another bounce." I thought, no, that's not happening. Working with analog, I have to start all over again from the beginning. And if I don't have a specific notes about what I have done to each song, I never can get the same, exactly the same. So always remember, when the mastering has started, don't send me any more
Yeah.
new mix versions. So just take care that the mixes are ready when I start mastering. Well, that is what happens when you work with the analog. But it's not only the sound, it's also some kind of the vibe that I have in mastering when I really have the hardware and I can really turn the knobs, and I hear the sound of the hardware clicking when I turn the knobs, and so on and so on. So everything affects, because I had to feel, I have to make myself feeling really, really, pumped and hyped about what I'm doing. And that happens also working with the hardware, not only, just mouse.
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of hardware. But nowadays the technique, it's a combination of digital, modern technique, old vintage, analog, tube, so on and so on.
Like emits. Okay, okay. So I know that you are always eager to learn. You're always hungry to learn new things. So who would you like to work with, or which mastering engineer would you like to grab a coffee with?
Wow. Maybe the reason that I have not, studied so much about other engineers, not even the work or what they have done, is because I have always been so unbelievable busy in my own job. So I have had so much work, so that no time to study other engineers' way of work or the sound. But that's not an arrogant thing. It's just it just happened to be so. Like I told you, I'm not so interested in listening music anymore after the 10-hour
Mhm.
working day. For example, when Nightwish did the Yesterwind orchestra recordings back in Abbey Road, so I asked Tuomas that it is okay if I come with you to check the sessions, and of course it was fine. But at the same time, when I'm in the house, of course, I asked that is it possible to meet all the mastering engineers. We had a wonderful the day, and also a wonderful evening, which ended up in the Abbey Road bar
Wow.
after a couple of wine bottles, and I met almost all the mastering engineers back in Abbey Road. I was in one session where they did vinyl cutting for one album, and two guys were like two mastering engineers were discussing together that how we should proceed with this cutting, and I was there hanging in the backside, and I have a suggestion. I have worked almost 10 years with cutting, so I know how to deal with this problem you have. And they, oh yeah, we forgot that you are also experienced mastering engineer, not just a fan hanging around here. So we had a wonderful time. That was really, really fantastic. And thanks for Nightwish even for that. But of course, I respect all my colleagues. I think how, at least sometimes I've noticed how hard it is to be a mastering engineer. As I told you, that when people don't recognize what you are doing, and therefore also people don't really appreciate what you are doing, and sometimes even the bands, the producers are thinking that it's really important that we will find the right guys to do recording. We are going to the right studio, and then we need this guy to do mixing. And when it comes to mastering, it's just the same. It's nevertheless who is dying. It's just the same. No, it's not just the same. It's a fucking important thing that you choose a mastering engineer suitable for your job, and not even suitable for your job, but you have to find a guy who serves you right and who respects your music, and also treat you well. So that's why it is so important also sometimes meet another mastering engineers and have a chat and change opinions. We are not so famous as the mixing engineers and recording engineers and of course the producers. They are the stars. I've always sometimes said that if some really difficult album got a really good ending and it becomes a fantastic sounding album, the producer gets all the credits, great producing. But if something really goes wrong, and the album ended up being lousy sounding, it's always the mastering agent that ruined everything.
Yeah.
We are like the scumbags of the business.
Yeah, for sure.
Whose fault is it? Okay, it was my fault. No.
No. Okay, and which albums are you currently working on? Can you share a little bit about that?
Well, that's a question. Almost even my friends are asking that. What are you doing at the moment? So I never, remember the close things. But of course, for example, I would love to mention a couple of albums I've done this year. And of course, the first one really important was the new Warman album. That became a really, really fantastic. And in summertime, we did the new Battle Beast album. Absolutely fantastic. And talking about mastering and other mastering engineers, with Battle Beast, we did a huge job also at Finnvox when we did the Atmos version for Battle Beast. So our engineer here did Atmos mixing, and my son, who is also a mastering engineer, he did the Atmos mastering for Battle Beast, and I did the stereo mastering. So we really got work with the group as a group here at Finnvox to prepare all the versions for the Battle Beast and that new album, that's Steelbound. That's a fucking great sounding album. But also I like to mention that Warman album because you can so easily hear the vibes of Children of Bodom in Warman, and of course Children of Bodom was maybe the second most important band of the Finnish metal scene for me after Nightwish, and the pass for Aleksi Laiho was just hurting so much for me. So
it was very sad.
I'm not if I ever will recover it, but that was a really, really sad thing. But anyway, that's why I think the Warman stuff nowadays, what they are doing, so it reminds me so much about the Children of Bodom, and I really appreciate that they continue the legacy of the band.
Last one. I'm a drummer, and as you mentioned, you like all kinds of music, and me the same. I like rock music, pop music, jazz, heavy metal, and stuff. And well, you have mastered. Let's talk about the drummer's sound. You have mastered, well, for example, at the time Jukka Nevalainen, now Kai Hattu, or Jaska Raatikainen. And well, what's your secret regarding drumming, mastering drummers?
I would love to say in a way that in mastering we are not doing any notable sound. It's the same thing that what we started. So it's just polishing or doing makeup, and that's why I am listening just the wholeness of the mix. So I can't concentrate anymore to one particular instrument or anything like that. But nowadays we have really, really good tools when we do mastering for stuff that needs really punchy and hard attacking drums. So we have nowadays good tools for it. And that's maybe one of the main things that I will take care of in my mastering is that never lose the attack and the punch of the drums. Secondly, also never lose the level and the clarity of the vocals. So that's maybe the two main things. After that, I will take care that the low end is in a good balance with the high end. And also if we are talking about, for example, some thrash metal or maybe a little bit more violent and angry metal, I will take care that not the high end, but the high mids are really aggressive, where the guitars are really, really smashing your head against the wall. So, but definitely the losing the punch of the drums, that is something that I never want to be happen. So That's
Yeah.
always in my mind. Yeah.
I like that that kick on the bass drum. That
Yep. Yes. But this, to be honest, I can, there's nothing for me to do for the sound anymore of the drums. I can a little bit adjust the levels, trying to use the levels. But for example, if I need to adjust vocals but not touch guitars, that's almost impossible because they are working in so the same frequencies. So everything affects everything when doing mastering.
Okay. Mika Jussila, thanks Emil for joining. Congrats for your 41 years working there at Finnvox Studios. Well, thanks Emil.